I think, all right, we're good. Nobody's like spin around in their chair. I can, but like the way my desk is. All right, do it. Good morning, everybody. We are live. This is our 54th jam session. I'm actually sad the people on here don't know this, but this is our last, no pressure or anything. This is our last jam session. Christina, your eyes got really big right there. It's not that big of a deal. This is our last, it might be, I don't know. This is our last jam session for the summer because we're gonna go dark. We have one with DuPage Real Producers next week, and then we're gonna go dark just because we found, you know, August tends to be a heavy travel month, and you know, when we don't want to pull agents away from their families, and just to have it, you know, a nice little tee off until, and then we start back again, I think September 14th. So one on August for a third for DuPage. And then this is the last one for Chicago for the summer. So we're excited to dive into the topics, just hear about what realtors are doing to maximize their productivity between now and when school starts. You know, our vision is to connect, elevate, and inspire the realtors in Chicago. And what I've found that rings true is, you know, realtors, it's like they all play in the same sandbox, but they really do want to see their colleagues be successful and thrive in this market. And I think we've done a really good job. It's like you can always do better and go down that rabbit hole, but I think we've done an above average job of just keeping people plugged in with the pandemic. And as we come out of it, our events are going to resume in the fall. Hooray, assuming there's no spike. Obviously, we're going to be safe about it, but assuming there's no spike, you know, Delta variants, there's a lot of factors at play right now. So, but that is the plan. And if not, we will just postpone it. It will not be the end of the world. We'll get back to some sense of normalcy. So I'm excited just to dive into the topic, and I'm going to have the realtors introduce themselves and the partners, and then we're going to start rocking because let's face it, nobody wants to hear me talk. So that being said, Christina, go ahead. Let's do some quick introductions. See who we got on here this morning.
Thank you, Andy. Hi, I'm Christina McNamee with At Properties. I've been selling real estate for 18 years. The first 6 years was selling with a national home builder in the suburbs, and then I've been licensed in the city for the last 12.
And I'm Shanley Henry with Compass in the Lincoln Park office, and I've been selling real estate for 4 years.
And I think it's you, man.
Wayne. Me, Tim Lorimer, managing partner of Mandile Lorimer Property Group of Compass. Been selling real estate for 4 years. Did about 10 years in the finance industry before real estate.
Wayne Beals. I'm with the Beals Group at Exit Strategy Realty, and I've been in the business since 2003.
Yeah. Michael Mandile, the Mandile Lorimer Property Group at Compass, about 4.5 years.
Awesome. Hey, thanks, guys. And we appreciate you carving the hour out. I mean, I know there's a lot of other productive things that you could be doing, but just thank you for your engagement and just, you know, helping the cause. It means a lot to me personally. And, you know, it's great to take time to collaborate and sort of scratch each other's back. So as the realtors are rock stars, what they do, we do not have a platform without our partners. And so I'm going to give the partners a chance to introduce themselves and their business. We work with a lot of unique industries. I learned really quick when launching this, when a real estate transaction is done, there's a lot of industries that benefit. There are some industries that benefit on every single transaction almost, but there are other industries that it's just a ripple effect. I mean, you can make the argument that real estate, you know, dictates the economy. And so it's kind of like its own little micro economy. So I'm going to have the partners introduce themselves. And before I do that, I mean, you guys have been the ones that have carried us through these last 18 months. So we're excited to get back to in person, God willing. And people keep asking me, hey, I've seen the hard copy. I love it. It looks sleek. It's great. Do you guys have an online version? Of course we do. It's 2021. However, it is via an app. It's called Digipub. So if you do not have this on your phone, tablet, DIGA, P as in Paul, U as an umbrella, B as in boy, it's currently free. App Store, Google Play. Eventually they'll probably start charging for it. We were actually supposed to launch this in the fall of this year, but these were the conversations we had January, February of 2020, but with everything hitting, we launched it obviously earlier. So it's just been another layer of connectivity. And just the nice thing about these is you can access all the past issues, which from when we launched. So it's called Digipub. Do not ask me for an electronic version ever again. I'm just kidding. Some people don't know that, but there it is right there. So feel free and download that if you want, wherever you download apps. But that being said, partners, thank you so much, Crystal, Maris, Al. We can't do what we do without you. We don't exist. And so I am extremely grateful for your support and your expertise, your engagement. It takes a lot to, it's one thing to just put your brand somewhere, but there's another thing to collaborate with people and elevate one another. So Crystal, why don't you go ahead and the floor is yours.
Yeah, so Crystal Kurzynski with Guaranteed Rate, nerd with the headset. I have been with GR for maybe 10 years in September. Kind of started entry level as a receptionist interview, worked my way to where I'm at today as a loan officer. So just really excited to hear about everybody's stories, how you have persevered through this market, and see if there's anything I can help with, answer questions with our industry.
If I'll hop in. Hi, everyone. My name is Maris Callahan, and I founded The Social Broker, a social media agency and membership providing social media services for real estate agents and companies within the real estate umbrella. I've been in communications for about 15 years and started my business in 2019.
Awesome. Al, best for last, maybe.
Al Dynia here. I am solo attorney working for myself, Alfred S. Dynia and Associates. I've been doing real estate, both investing and closings and everything related thereto for about 16 years.
16, awesome. Well, this is the part where I get out of the way because let's face it, other than a few quips and dad jokes, I'm going to add probably zero value to this this interaction here. So let's see here, Christine. When we were kind of pre-gaming, you had some good talking points to kick us off with. So why don't you go ahead? Let's start jamming.
All right, thanks, Andy. So after the crazy spring market that was kind of unpredictable, I'm wondering what my fellow colleagues here think the outlook for this fall 2021 will be. Do you think that it will skew seller's market still, or do you think it's going to turn into a buyer's market? And just overall, what you think is going to happen with inventory and sales going into August, September, October?
Yeah, that's a great question. Honestly, it's a pretty big topic. And I feel like me, Michael, and I know all of you probably get the same question from all of your brokers, or sorry, your buyers, sellers. Really, what do I expect? When should I sell? When's a good time to start looking when there's more inventory? I think what sort of was a hangover on this whole summer market was the fact that it was widely known that this would be like the largest travel season ever, right? COVID last year, people couldn't go anywhere. Kids are not out of school, let's go on vacations, and airline prices, everything sort of reflected that. But it's kind of interesting now as we're getting like an early start to the fall. I feel like over the last week and a half to 2 weeks, it's tons of calls for listing appointments, tons of buyers coming out of nowhere. And it's sort of a blend. Last year, we didn't really get any sort of slowdown. And now this year, it's just a slowdown for sure in maybe a month of June into July. And then now bang, bang, bang. And it's really getting hot again. So, and that's pre-fall, right? So COVID kind of threw a wrench into everything. And I like to see that it's really picking back up. You guys sort of agree with that?
Yeah, I definitely think you have like two kind of functions running. You have this kind of short near-term function, the next 6 months to a year, and then you have the sort of longer range 5-year. And I think that in the 5-year horizon, the market is probably going to continue to rise, just because I feel like there's a whole generation of people that we didn't prepare on the construction and development side for, to be forming household units. But on the Short-term side, I think people have a lot of cash. I mean, there's a lot of stimulus money out there. There's a lot of down payment capital out there. And I think that cash is giving people access to purchasing housing, and it's just sort of rippling up and down the market depending on what segment of the market is receiving some subsidy or now getting jobs and kind of re-entering the economy. So I do think that the short term is going to be kind of glitchy. It's going to be like, up and down, but I think long term, I can't see a way that our construction industry is not poised to meet the general housing demands of the millennials forming households, and I feel like that's just for me, is an obvious problem that we have as an economy.
And people aren't looking to like rent short term. Everyone wants to buy a house that we know, and I mean, the inventory is just not there. So people are like, I'll wait, see what happens. But I don't think anything's going to happen with the amount of people that are kind of sitting on the sidelines waiting for an opportunity to buy. People aren't seeing value. That's because the demand's so strong and the inventory is so low, it's driving the pricing up. So been a little quiet. It's still busy, but I definitely think going into fall, we're gonna be working hard. So it's good.
Have you guys had any? Oh, sorry, Shanley. Go ahead.
I was saying the New York Times just did an article this weekend, and they profiled, different buyers in different areas of the country. And I thought it was interesting how many decided to sit out and do exactly what you're talking about, Michael, like rent for a year. And I don't know about you guys, but I haven't really seen a ton of my buyers do that. A lot of them have been in flexible situations and continue to be. And I think a lot of them were hoping, let's see what happens in the summer. And I think they'll pick up steam in the fall, but I don't know that they're going to I think they'll see a little relief, but I don't think it'll be huge relief. And I think a lot of them will then, bite the bullet and realize that like, you're not going to be able to just wait this thing out a few months. Like this might be our new reality for a bit of time. And it's really not going to have like a giant swing the other way anytime soon.
And to your point, we don't know what interest rates are going to do. So even if they go up half a point, that offsets any money you're potentially going to save. So I don't really see an opportunity, and our clients are doing like 2-month, 3-month extensions in hope of things changing in that time frame, but TBD, we don't know.
Yeah.
One interesting thing that I was looking at over the weekend. I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to econ and financial statistics, and it's basically a statistic about the amount of savings. So obviously the economy pumped a whole bunch of money into everyone's pockets, but that's not being spent on balance, right? It's being saved, and ultimately it will be spent, right? Because I mean, there is a fear factor where people will save more than not, right? But a lot of that will trickle into the economy, and it will turn into home buying. And so there's an argument where this thing could last 3, 4, 5 to 7 years longer. And I don't know, ultimately when people spend, which they will, that pushes prices higher, and then inflation kind of sets in. And then the Fed counteracts, right? But I think this bull markets last a long time. I think this can really push for a lot longer than what sort of our clients think it might, right? Because everyone's asking, well, inflation and interest rates are going to spike. You sort of have to sit down with them and say, yeah, I get that. That's sort of a common thought, but and do you guys kind of agree with that?
To your point, Tim, the older generations, their single greatest asset was owning a home or multiple homes, or they own something to sell it. The younger generations, they make a lot more money, they have money on hand, they spend a lot more money. But do you think that when they realize that the greatest asset is a home versus Dogecoin or something along those lines, that it will pick the market up even more? Instead of putting 30K into some stock or something, they put it down on a down payment and they can own a home.
I mean, I think that the thing that I always have looked at, and this is a PTSD symptom from the recession, right, is I look at the supply side, because depending on where the inventory can possibly come from, that's going to dictate how many homes are available. Like when you look at the demand side, like the buy side, low interest rates, cash on hand, savings rate, all those things are really important. But I think that we're sort of heading into a healthy demand side in the sense that it seems like the economy is going to continue to grow as long as the pandemic remains in check, you know. But on the supply side is really where the problem is. And, you know, I drive through Oak Park all the time on my way, you know, in and out of the city from my house. And there's 3 new senior living building high rises going up, right? And that's there to sort of allow some of these people who are currently choosing to stay in these high tax, overly large homes for their empty nest to be able to sort of let go of that and allow, you know, maybe the next generation of households to come in. And I feel like we didn't build that housing because of the recession. And then, you know, we have this huge retirement age community, you know, coming to change a life. And they don't have a lot of incentive right now to let go of their homes because, you know, it's their safe place to be. It's what they know. It's where their community is. And so I see developers just cranking up these towers in those neighborhoods, you know, just trying to give them an option. And because it's going to be lucrative. And then I think on the other side of that, those homes that get sold will allow, you know, that next generation to have some housing supply to purchase. But we're in a built environment. You know, to me, the underdeveloped neighborhoods are where you have the most possibility of adding density and adding population. And Chicago as a whole is one of the most underpriced cities I can think of. You know, when I go to any other city, I feel like I'm poor. You know, I go to Miami, I'm like, oh, gee, I should be a broker here. I go to, you know, I go to San Diego, I should be a broker here. You know, it is, we are, you know, we're in a very, as expensive as Chicago feels to us, I really feel like, you know, as far as major cities go, it's cheap.
To Wayne's point, I actually I was just on a panel where I found out that Chicago is actually one of, or Illinois and Chicago in general, one of the markets out of like 6 that negative equity is still present. Now, granted, that may not be Chicago, right, but even in Chicago, we're just now reaching the pre-bubble kind of level of pricing. And so, you know, that squarely lines up with what Wayne just stated, that we've still got, you know, we are cheaper by comparison to many of the other cities. And so that, you know, so the people that I think that are hoping to get relief in the fall, and like Tim said, for several years, I think between, and I'm kind of a dork too when it comes to the, you know, economics and whatnot. And I think that I don't think that that's going to happen anytime all that soon. All right, at least from what I'm seeing in terms of, you know, inflation, construction pricing, and what that's doing. I mean, even though you saw, you know, I don't know if people know, but like a 300% increase in the cost of soft lumber, right? That's come down now considerably, but it's still 75% over what it normally is. And, you know, and the belief is that that's not coming down anytime soon. So, you know, I think to kind of, you know, go back to what we began with, I personally don't think that it's going to be, I think the fall is going to be very busy, and I feel like it's already starting. I always have, from a closing perspective, July is always kind of a slower month. This July has not been, and it's already basically right to where it was in the spring. This last 2 weeks has been absolutely insane in terms of contracts coming in. So if that's any indicator.
Well, and I think all markets are local, right? So, you know, you when you look at the suburban markets, like I just talked about in Oak Park, they have their own challenges. And then, and I think Christina brought this up earlier before we started up, but the downtown market, that's a big question. You know, I honestly feel like downtown is going to has different challenges than the rest of the neighborhoods in the suburbs of Chicago. So what are everybody's experiences here this summer with downtown, like the Loop Markets and Streeterville and Gold Coast and those areas?
It was quiet. I think and Tim could pitch in on this too. It's picking up definitely, but the things that are moving are a deal or a condo that's kind of been renovated. If you kind of just have that 2003 development high rise and it's just brown cabinets and dark cabinet, you know, it's original and you want to blend in with the comps, you're probably sitting. But if you've done some upgrades or you're pricing accordingly to upgrade, I mean, they're moving. There's demand there. Just the inventory needs to be solid. you know.
I think there was a subset of buyers that took a big step back over the last 12 to 18 months that are probably now just tiptoeing back in. I've been contacted by 3 buyers that they're kind of like empty nesters looking for a second home downtown that totally went on pause last year with COVID, civil unrest. There were no plays, there were no sporting events, there was no symphonies, there was nothing to bring them into the downtown area. So they put it on pause. And I'm just now, like within the last couple weeks, getting calls from those same buyers that I haven't been going out with for the last couple months. So I think that subset is going to slowly trickle back in, which I think will start eating up some of the downtown inventory in River North, Gold Coast, Streeterville. As well as I think the international buyers also probably went on pause. I don't do a lot of international, but those are 2 pretty decent subsets for high rises that have been totally non-existent during the last 12 to 18 months. So I think that'll start eating this up, and I'm thinking that by next spring, inventory will probably be evened out, and you can start seeing prices start to stabilize and maybe go back up.
I do think people thought, or sellers thought, that there was going to be a bigger influx of buyers into the condo market than there's been. And I know some of the conversations I've had have been in the beginning, sellers that, think they can demand a certain price. And then, the nice thing about this market is I say to everybody on both sides, quickly. If you're selling and you're not priced right, you're going to know, where before you might give it a few weeks, now you're going to know in a week and a half if you're not priced right. And I would say that's definitely true of the condo market downtown, and you've got to adjust quick, because once you're stale, you're stale, and good luck to you. So, I've had sellers that have taken offers that, weren't the offer they wanted, but it closed quick and they got out. And, there's something to be said for that, especially in those buildings with really high assessments. I'm also interested to know what people think about the high assessments downtown and how that will be for buyers going forward. Because I feel like I've seen a big hesitancy, even buyers that, fully believe, things are going to come back and eventually we're going to be in a state of normalcy. They just have a tougher time swallowing that pill. And I agree with them. I don't know. I think it's a real problem for some of those buildings. If not for yourself, certainly on resale.
Yeah, I agree for sure. I do think, though, and this is sort of what I advise my clients, is at the end of the day, it comes down to affordability, right? And Crystal, you can probably touch on this too, but I mean, if you're getting a deeply discounted price on a luxury downtown high rise, which is, they're plentiful right now, and those also tend to have the higher HOAs, there's a deal to be had, and you can sort of swallow that nut there. So it's an interesting market. At the end of the day, though, I feel like Chicago is so efficient. It's such a big market. And I agree with Shanley. I don't think the money has been pouring into the deals in the downtown high rises like I think a lot of people thought, but it will. It absolutely will. I'm already seeing a lot of our suburban stuff slow down, sort of top out. That little interest rate tantrum from 3 to 3.5% was meaningful, right? Even though it's 3.5% still somewhat of a joke, right? It's the velocity of change that sort of scared people. Now we're back below 3% market on 30-year fixed, right? So money flows easily here, and it will find, even if there's a higher HOA, it will find deals for sure. Do you agree, Crystal?
Yeah, I actually recently had a client who had reached out for a pre-approval, and I think this kind of touches on what Christina was talking about too, of the demographic of who's looking at those condos downtown. I think a first-time home buyer might be scared away by a high HOA like that, or not have that part of their budget in their mindset. But the clientele that you guys are probably going to see more of, that I'm doing a lot more pre-approvals for, are those retirees looking to move downtown, be close to their kids that are living in the area, have that easy accessibility for hospitals and the different amenities in the downtown area. So yeah, I think the HOAs can be an issue for more so a first-time home buyer than those experienced homeowners that know what they're getting into.
Yeah, Shanley, the one thing that that I've been kind of using to combat the high HOAs, because there's nothing you can do about it, right? It's like the one thing you can't change on a listing is, but even whether it's like an empty nester demographic or a first time home buyer demographic that are looking downtown, I feel like everybody wants that like Instagrammable, move-in ready, showstopper interior. And I feel like if you have high HOAs, but it's like move-in ready, that can maybe sway a buyer. Obviously price is going to be a factor too, but I feel like the demographic of that first time home buyer, Maris, you can, jump in here, but they're looking on Instagram, they're looking on Pinterest, they're spending all this time watching HGTV, and not a lot of them have either the money to do it. They'd rather just roll it into their mortgage, or like the wherewithal to do it. So I feel like if you have that high HOA, let's make it so it stands out on social media and on, online to make it stand out from the rest.
I feel like that wherewithal comment is kind of says it all about distressed or dated properties, right? Like it's really hard to get so much as a painter or a hardwood floor refinisher into your place right now. I mean, like the workforce is so slimmed down. We don't have a lot of labor, and it's really expensive to do those things. It's really uncertain pricing, and then it's a lot of effort. You gotta deal with people you don't want to deal with because the people you do want to deal with are too busy, so I think that you hit it on the head with, if it's turnkey and ready, I think a lot of people really are going to pay an exceptional amount for the convenience factor of not having to go through dealing with contractors or dealing with uncertainty in that construction market.
And I think the other side of that is that, lumber prices have been high, and even furniture. I was in a Crate and Barrel yesterday, and they were quoting Thanksgiving if you order a couch now, unless it's a showroom model. So it's hard enough just to get furniture for your house. How are you going to also deal with a rehab or a renovation?
Mm-hmm.
You got that couch and you want to sell it on Facebook Marketplace, this is the time,
You're right. You're right.
A patio set takes 6 months to get. Summer's going to be over.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't want to sit on your patio in the winter?
No. not in Chicago.
Yeah, it's an interesting market. I think Wayne said it best. It's a market within a whole bunch of markets, right? I mean, I get clients ask me all the time, we're seeing all-time home prices. Even literally today, Case Home Schiller index came out and all-time highs again. How many times can we keep pushing all-time highs? But then downtown market calls and says, well, all-time highs, let's list here. It's not going to sell.
Yeah.
And I don't just list places, there's no point in listing just to list. So it's interesting, and it's so segmented, but.
Well, I think downtown's market too is I had a few sales in the Loop and Streeterville and Lincoln Park, over the last 12 months. And one of the things I noticed on the listing side, I had this building at like Lincoln Park, lakefront, the pool right off Lakeview. So it was like a wonderful building, zero traffic for like 5 months, and we were priced really well. And I think that the challenge there was, our demographic was empty nesters, and they didn't want to move into a building with all those icky elevator buttons right now, like during COVID, right? And then students, well, they didn't have to go to class, right? So all the DePaul students were out. And then, you start thinking of all the people who would buy in this, but the out-of-towners, well, they don't need a in-town place because they don't come in town anymore. So like you kind of run through that list of where the demand side is and go, wow, there's really just less demand right now. And, on the other side, I have buyers that are really trying to jump into the market, and they're trying to get a deal, but the sellers aren't necessarily trying to accept that price for their place. So it's a lot. It's pretty jammed up.
Yeah.
Everything we're looking at on the buy side, if you compare it to like 2 years ago, it's through the roof, and they haven't done anything to the property. So to my original point, the only thing I'm really seeing moving are properties that have been renovated. They offer some value there, or there's a deal to be had. But there's a lot of stuff just sitting that's just whatever. It's overpriced, and just kind of taking up space. So
But then you go out to the suburbs, and Al, are you seeing a lot of this? We're writing offers or waiving appraisals. I mean, completely as is, obviously, right? Just the craziest sort of offers amongst 15, 20 other offers. And that is no joke out in the suburbs, right? And price point dependent, of course, but
that market is cooling. I mean, like as the school year starts, the people who buy in the suburbs kind of disappear, because they're really school year focused. So I think that if you've got buyers who are really itching to get out to the burbs, getting them on the streets in August, September, October is like huge. They're going to be probably the only offer at the table.
Still pretty hot, but it's definitely going down.
I think it's starting earlier. I don't know, a lot of the families that.
Yeah, it's interesting. So while my practice is in the city, I live out in Northbrook, and I can tell you that, for the deals and the realtors that I work with out here, I mean, it's still, $40,000-$50,000 over asking price to get it. And I mean, in my neighborhood alone, a house just went up on the market 2 days ago, and it was under contract the next day. So I don't know.
Sell your place, Al?
What's that? It's
It's
funny is, I actually got an unsolicited letter in the mail the other day, someone asking because they have a family member and they'd like to be close to them in the neighborhood. I mean, it's
we've written many of those. It's wild.
Yeah. I actually, I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that I like where I live and settle my kids, the price that they're offering me, it's like, holy shit, pardon my language. Because it's like, I really kind of want to sell, but it seems like it's still pretty hot. But I think Wayne's got a really good point, right? Because I mean, that's why I came out here, right? I have 3 kids, and it's all about the schools. And and all the closings that I've done for people in the burbs, it's I don't know that any of them have not had children, or at least been at a minimum pregnant, right? And it's you see I don't think I've done anybody that was just husband and wife or single that have come out this way. So certainly the school thing is definitely a driving force.
They're rushing to buy to beat school. I think you'll definitely see it cool down September, October, November come around.
Yeah.
And then cycle closes.
And so will the inventory will also strip down, because like a lot of the sellers will just be like, oh, like I'm good. Yep. And Shanley, you were about to say something. You and Al came on at the same time.
Oh yeah, I was saying, you were talking about how it follows the school calendar, and obviously I agree. But I do think I've seen a lot of buyers who maybe had the burbs on, their 5-year plan substantially move that up with COVID.
Yeah,
and I think that's still going to continue, because I think now that people kind of got a taste of being locked up in their condo, where before, they thought, hey, we could make this work with a kid or two. I think a lot differently. I know I had my first child in September, and I was like, we'll never leave our duplex up. And now I'm like, nah, I can see a world where we leave a lot sooner than I thought. And I think more and more people are feeling that way. So it'll be interesting to see. Certainly I'm sure it'll be a cool off, but I don't think it'll be dead in the burbs no matter what time of year for a while.
Yeah.
Congratulations, by the way. That's awesome.
Thank you.
The listings we're getting out in the suburbs are, even outside of downtown, are like go live Wednesday, first showings Friday, Saturday, like 15 offers Sunday. Yeah. It's like, wow.
Yeah, I remember it was March, and I was taking a listing in Wheeling for an old client of mine that I've sold a bunch of stuff for in the city, and I don't really know a lot about Wheeling, right? So I'm like looking at the data, and I'm fishing through it, and I said, look, I'm hesitantly saying that this market is, $200,000 for this house, 195 to 200, and I did a draft listing, reverse prospected it, and like 850 agents, like on the draft. And I'm like, and I called my client back, and I'm like, look, it's gonna be a show. There's three houses on the market that match this, and there's 850 agents with clients in the system.
Wow.
So something's and sure enough, it sold for like $30,000 over asking, and it wasn't even that nice. You know, it still needed updates, and it was it was a very, very small house in a community of very small houses, you know, so it still needed a lot of work.
Well, and you know, and I'm seeing that, you know, obviously I don't see the houses as much as you do, but I'm seeing a lot of that in terms of when I'm talking to my clients, and even some of my family members that are buying, that have significantly reduced their expectations in what a house will look like. It's, you know, my sister-in-law right now is buying, and they're looking and leaving the city and looking in Park Ridge, and you know, the homes that they've been looking at, I mean, they need 100 grand worth of updating, and they're okay with that, where initially they were, you know, trying to find something very specific, but realizing that those are either not out there, or you're gonna, you know, I don't know if overpay is the right word, but pay, you know, a premium, you know. Oh,
100 grand updating if you can find your contractor. You know?
yeah,
which is like,
yeah,
I
that's
have
not a joke. No, it's not a joke.
rehab. I have my own rehab project going. I got many builder clients, right? And one of my builder clients is helping me with it. And we are 7 months into owning this thing. We haven't done a thing yet. You know, it's still sitting there vacant. And in fact, I've got a cash offer from a guy down the block who wants to pay me significantly more than I paid for it to just take it off my hands. And, you know, I wrote him back nicely saying, you know, no, my family's gonna move in here. We look forward to meeting you and living on your block. And he responded very rudely with, I'm no good to him. I was like, okay. you know, but it's like, I want to live here. Is he trying to scare me out of the neighborhood? You know, but I think that there's a lot of, I think that, to everybody's point, it's really, really challenging. I think the one thing we can really all agree on here is that it's really hard to sell a property that needs work unless it's in a market that has no inventory, you know. And when you have a property that's really updated and rehab, it is gone, you know, in almost any market. It is gone in less than a day or two. And I feel like that has just been holding across the city, you know, at least in my experience.
And I think it's been hard to educate some of the sellers who are not in the fast moving bucket, because they're reading about real estate everywhere is going crazy and there's lines out the door and they're getting 25 offers. And to tell people that their place is not one of those, you know, everybody doesn't always believe you right away.
So I have a question for Crystal, because I'm kind of in this situation, but going to the point of like move-in ready and having contractors be delayed and materials be delayed. When you look at like extended rate locks, like I put a new construction place under contract in February, we were told that it was going to be done in July. And as we've gone through, there's been delays, city delays, you know, material delays, and now we're looking at almost like November. What is your recommendation for like rate locks when you have these new construction or projects or whatever that you can't estimate when they're going to close?
Yeah, I think it's important that, I mean, you have someone that you're working with that has that in mind. You know, I would take into consideration all of those factors and look at whether it's worthwhile to float. I don't, you know, there's talk about, oh, interest rates are going to spike, but we're not anticipating that this year or any time early 2022. So, you know, I think you could gauge the buyer's comfortability and kind of sit with the market, or you could lock in anticipating having to pay for those extensions. It really just depends on the client, how confident they are in sitting with the market. And yeah, I mean, extended locks right now, 90 days are not that far off from the 60-day. It's really, I'm building in those extensions usually just because of what people are reading, but I would comfortably sit as well.
Okay.
And I can tell you absolutely, without a doubt, like I have 8 new construction, under construction properties that are under contract. Now I'm on the list side. And the communications I get from the buyer side are, you know, incredibly frustrated, right? Because although my builders are really persisting, I mean, they are plugging through this really challenging construction market and supply chain. They, at the very same time, the buyers really feel like, to some degree, it's ordering a Happy Meal. Where's my Happy Meal? I didn't get the girl's toy, or I did, like, there's no appreciation for how hard this is right now. And so I found that communication is really critical with the buyer and listing agents. I mean, like, I am happy to take a call once every 2 weeks or once a week from the buyer's agent saying, hey, how did it go this week? Just to give them an update. And if there's no progress, let them know. But my advice at the end of that call is always make sure your buyer is in a flexible living situation. Because if they're not, it's going to go crazy. So
I would add that it's really incumbent upon selling agents to really inform their buyer clients and inform them in writing so that you have backup later when they complain. Because I know that I make it a point to, in my email, in my introductory email, or in any communication with them, that if you're buying new construction, you have to be prepared that you may have lock extension costs and you may have some delays. You may have to extend your lease. All of those things may play a role in it, and that given the supply chain constraints and the building of constraints that exist right now, they've got to be ready for that, because inevitably, there's a delay. I mean, I don't know that I've had that many construction projects that are not delayed, at least a little bit. And I think it's really important that you set that expectation early. Otherwise, it does nothing but leave a sour taste in their mouth at the end.
Right. Yeah.
Before I forget, let's take a screenshot. And to Wayne's point, the toy is the most important part of the Happy Meal. Just want to throw that out there so people can start smiling before we do.
You sound like a father of four.
I can. It's funny because I don't remember the last time my kids. We don't go to McDonald's that much, but we all know. I can do without the fries or the soda, but hamburger. So you guys ready? Okay. When you see me stop smiling, you stop smiling. 1, 2, 3, smile. I think we might have got that in the first try. Let's see it. Everybody looks good.
Yeah.
One more. Let's do one more. There's one person. I think I caught them before. I'm not going to call them out though.
Just say it's me.
It could have been me. You guys will never know. Maybe I'll text the first shot, and then you can see who the culprit is. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh, Al, come on, dude. You were like in mid swing. Yeah, we should just use that one. All right, ready? Third time's the charm, right? See, then you can formulate your thoughts on what you want to talk about next. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I think that was the winner.
it's amazing how you could speak while smiling.
Chicken dinner right there. That was beautiful.
Maris, you're in the PR business, right?
Maris,
Yeah, PR, social media.
I kind of want to pick your brain because I feel like everybody's push to social media is just, blown up for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
What are you seeing on that side?
Yeah, I think people are definitely embracing it more than they used to. I think that real estate was one of the, I don't want to say last, but it was definitely, I think real estate took a minute to embrace social media because real estate is about relationships. And I think there was a hesitance just industry-wide of sort of replacing the face-to-face networking that is so important in our industry with hiding behind a screen. But I think that, COVID was a huge catalyst for most people to embrace more video. And now there's so many different content platforms out there that people are really trying a lot of different things to see what works best for them and finding that there's really no one clear path to success on social media. I have clients that are getting cold leads on social where they're literally, they're literally getting inbox, DMs saying, I saw your post on whatever, and I'd like to talk about doing a buyer consultation. And then I have people who are getting them more indirectly, where it's the same way you're getting referrals, but through keeping in touch with your sphere on Instagram or on Facebook instead of, postcards, emails, and all the traditional things, or in addition to those things, because social media, it does work best as part of kind of that broader marketing strategy. But I think, overall, people are really starting to kind of embrace it. And, all it takes is really one lead to come through to pay for your marketing efforts for the whole year. So I think people are starting to really see that it can pay off if you stick with it.
Which social medias do you recommend? I just feel like there's like TikTok and Pinterest, and there's like all the, do you go on all of them, or do you recommend just like the big three? Like which should you be doing?
I usually say Instagram and Facebook work really well together. Facebook owns Instagram, and Mark Zuckerberg is not going to set it up so that you can use one or the other. They want you to use both. So I think Facebook and Instagram definitely. And then it's important to have a presence on LinkedIn. You don't need to post as much because people don't spend as much time hanging out on LinkedIn as they do scrolling or commenting on the other apps. But it is important that when people look you up, your LinkedIn page is up to date. You're posting kind of your big announcements, big events and things there, but people aren't going to LinkedIn to look at listings. And then on Instagram, I'm really pushing my clients to do video, whether it's Instagram stories or Instagram reels, just because it does have that. It's not about being like, oh, look at me, I'm like on the camera all the time, because I say if you wanted to be a reality TV star, you would have gone to broadcast journalism school and not gotten your real estate license. There are some people who are really on camera all the time and you wonder, when are they selling houses? But it is important to have that human opportunity to make the human connection that you can only make when you're face to face, even if it is through video. And in terms of TikTok versus Instagram, a lot of people went to TikTok last year for entertainment. And so Instagram responded by saying, well, here's Instagram Reels, which are those short, snappy TikTok videos that you can now do in the Instagram app. And because Instagram wants us to use them instead of going to TikTok, they're giving algorithm priority to the accounts that are making Reels. They're not going to punish you for not making Reels, but if you're making Reels, you're going to notice more engagement on all of your posts across the board. And they are a growth driver. And it's weird. You never really know because they're so new. You don't really know what it's going to take. I have a reel where I gave one tip and I said, be sure you're checking your other inbox, because for a lot of people, if you're getting a referral, like let's say somebody refers Tim to a friend and that friend goes and looks up Tim on Instagram, they might message him on Instagram, but you're not already connected because it's a friend of a friend. So it's not like a straight cold Instagram lead, it's a referral, but that person might come through your Instagram inbox. And if you're not checking that other folder, you'll miss those leads. So I gave that tip. It was like a 3-second video. And of all the reels I've spent all this time, creating content for myself, that one has almost 20,000 views. And it's like, I don't look good in it. I like not smiling. I don't like, it's like everything they tell you, make sure you don't do. And that's the one that has gone like viral. So you never really know what, it's really kind of trying different things and seeing what your individual audience will respond to.
Adding value, right? That's it.
Exactly. Educate, I always say educate, entertain, inspire, or inform, or do a combination.
And
So,
real quick,
Maris,
as a social media expert, are there any platforms that you recommend outside of the standard stuff that are really coming on that we should kind of look at as potential targets to use?
Yeah, so I'm hearing a lot about YouTube. YouTube is not new, but I'm definitely hearing more and more about incorporating that into your strategy. I'm not like necessarily telling people to run and do it yet. Like if there's anywhere you should be right now, it's Instagram. Because, and the reason I like it is not just because everyone is kind of there now, everyone has different audiences. Some people might have, demographic audience where they're not hanging out on Instagram as much, but Instagram is definitely kind of where the action is right now and where you're going to get the most engagement and the most kind of bang for your effort. And then Instagram also works really well because there are so many different types of content that you can share. You can post static photos to your feed, swipeable posts like carousel posts are doing really well. There's the stories where you can do those quick videos, reels where you can be entertaining, and IGTV where you can post those longer form videos and then also house them on YouTube so that you're reaching kind of the online SEO search audience in addition to the people who are already part of your sphere on Instagram.
I have a question. Can you just repeat the last 4 minutes? What you just said right there?
We're gonna go back and get the video.
Then we'll put it on YouTube.
Maris, how often should we be posting? We post every day, multiple times a day. Which one should we be posting on?
Yeah, so I say post to your Instagram and Facebook feed like 3 to 4 times a week is usually good. But if, you know, it really depends on the person, but for my clients, I say like, we want to be posting 3 to 4 times a week. The more you can show up in stories, the better. And then reels, you know, I try to post 1 a week for my page. The good thing about stories and reels is that if you're already doing stories, like your behind the scenes property tour walkthroughs, you can download that video to your phone, you know, turn it into a reel or send it to your social media manager and they'll do it for you. But a lot of the video content that's on reels is really like under 10 seconds, like, you know, even so they can be really quick. I think a lot of people kind of get overwhelmed and think like, oh, I don't want to create all this video. And I get like that too, because I love giving advice and I love kind of helping people shape their strategy, but I'm not a video producer. And I think some of like the technical, like the editing pieces can be overwhelming and intimidating, but even like just going on and saying like, here's a quick tip and, you know, talking about like, you know, hey, my clients are asking me when I should sell. Here's what I tell them. 10 seconds, 15 seconds, that little quick snippet, it adds value, it educates, and it's giving Instagram the content and the format that they want. So I say, you know, go where your audience is. I think Instagram is a great opportunity right now because there are so many different ways you can communicate.
So,
and then, you know, go ahead.
Outside of a lead generation tool, because we always look at social media, at least I do, as lead generation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you find that social media is an effective platform to market property on, like to actually like sell real estate on?
Yes
or,
and no.
Or more just marketing the realtor, you know?
Yeah, no, I think it's really about brand building, number one. But two, I have seen agents sell property through Instagram. In my membership, I have 2 agents who are both at properties in Chicago, but they didn't know each other before joining my my program. And one of them posted for come soon, staying or following each other. And the other said, I have a buyer for you. And they were able to get a deal done before the listing even hit the market. So I think the coming soon is, you know, pre-market properties and marketing that way is another is an opportunity. I also think that I've had clients before where they've told me, don't follow any other agents. I just want to communicate with my clients. But I think one of your audiences on social media is other agents for that reason, for that kind of lead generating purpose, because some clients are out there actively looking for properties. Others are waiting for their agent to send them the properties. So I think that the agents is an important audience. You know, are people coming to Instagram to look for homes for sale? Not usually. But it doesn't hurt to market them in a way that's creative and that feels organic to your brand. There are marketers who do what I do, who say, don't ever post just listed or just sold, like the banners on the photos. I say, make sure that's not all you're doing, because people are coming to be entertained and educated. They're not necessarily coming to read like, you know, advertisements, but it is our, you know, it is the agent's responsibility to the seller to find creative ways to market the property. And I think it would be a miss if your sellers opened up your Facebook page and you were never promoting property. It's like, you're in real estate. Like, let's not pretend we don't sell.
I find there's a lot of cognitive dissonance in my beach pictures with my just sold, just listed pictures. And like, I'm really hardworking. Here's me on the beach. And I'm really doing a lot of business and I'm on the beach. And
You're also hardworking on the beach, aren't you?
Yes, I do answer my phone on the beach.
It's funny. there's such a difference. Some people miss the difference between personal and private, right? Like personal, we want to get to know, like, okay, Wayne is a human and he likes to go to the beach. So it's good, like every once in a while, throw that beach picture in there because you're going to end up connecting with other people who love the beach. And those could be potentially your ideal client, your target client. But if every other picture, to your point, is of the beach, people might think, so it's really all about finding that balance between business and personal. You want to have enough personal to communicate that like you're a real human. You're not just like house. Here are all my listings, but you also want to show that kind of polished and professional image of yourself that, that we all want to project.
Anybody mind if I throw Alec? Sorry, Shanley, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I've actually had 2 properties sell off of Instagram stories this year.
Love it.
One, same, like you mentioned, I think it's huge to be connected with other brokers. And I love especially when you have a deal that goes really smoothly with another broker and you do another one. But you find, I've found through my buyers, I've had other agents find my listings for their buyers. And then I've also had, people that follow me, like friends of a friend, they actually sent it to friends of theirs that were looking for that exact thing. Their agent reached out to me and it went together that way. So it's been, fun to see some of our like social media work and paying for like video and videographers to come out and do that for our listings. It really does pay off.
That's great.
Just a quick question for Al, because I know we're going to start running low on time. And I know this is a hot issue for me right now, and maybe for you guys. Home inspections, right? Like the buyer has like no leverage in a lot of markets. How are deals surviving requests for repairs in your experience? Because you're on the attorney side, right? You're negotiating some of these items.
Yeah, they're surviving, by the skin of their teeth. If there's a regular home inspection that's, and it's not an as is, then yeah, they're surviving fairly decently. Okay. I mean, I think people, especially sellers, realize, right, they've, bird in the hand kind of thing. They've got somebody legitimate, right? There's that whole, I remember in the statistic at one point that your first offer is generally your most likely to close, right? It's usually your strongest, et cetera. People are excited, so I think agents counsel their clients, accordingly. The bigger problem is that so many deals now are coming in as is, where people are doing their inspection and then still wanting to negotiate, inspection items. And that's where you kind of, that's where we're coming into the problem, where deals are dying, and they're saying, look, I have a right to cancel. The clause says you don't have a right to even ask. You can terminate if you want, but don't ask me for money. And some deals die right away. And they say, we're not even going to monkey around with this one. We're going to go to the next one, the next offer we had, because we had, 4. So it is, I mean, it's a great question, and and I think it's really important, to again, counsel clients on what does the clause actually say. And it's funny because I actually teach a lot at different offices, and that's actually one of the top classes that are usually attended is, what is the inspection clause? What does it cover? What doesn't it cover? And how to approach it, to make sure that you don't have deals blowing up.
Are you seeing people write contracts as is without even knowing what they're offering on?
Yes.
Like they go look at a home and they don't look at the heat, they don't look at the roof, they don't look at the windows. They're in there 5 minutes. Let's offer over ask as is, and then they do their inspection. Right? We don't want it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I would tell you that probably 97% of people have no idea what the as is clause means.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Well,
Did you catch that, or did it freeze?
It froze a little bit, but I think we got the gist. I mean, it makes sense to me though, man. Like it's as is, as long as nothing's wrong with it. I mean, that makes perfect sense.
Well,
I don't see anything wrong with that.
So when somebody brings an as is offer into one of my listings, right? Like we're using that as a possible determining factor over other offers, right? So, this guy's as is. So then I go verify with the other agent. Hey, what does your client understand as is to mean before we execute? Because I don't want to have to eat crow and go begging for other offers after this thing dies in a week, from these other agents, right? So like, I think that as is, you know, just sort of a tool in the buyer's toolkit right now, or it's
I
being
agree.
leveraged as a tool. So
Well, and I think it's
Well-
important too that you know, that agents understand and sellers understand that as is doesn't mean you don't get to tell the truth. That's the other, you know, that's the other side of the coin that I hear all the time. Well, they're buying as is, so I don't have to say this, I don't have to say that. That's a problem, right? Because that's not at all what it means. You still have a duty to disclose. It's just that you're not going to remedy anything that is potentially found wrong with it, right? And that's what as is really means, right?
We should
Okay.
do a whole jam session on the as is concept, because I mean that's something that we could totally beat to death. Well, I want to be. I appreciate everybody just lending their insights on all this. I want to be respectful about everybody's time because you guys are busy, have other appointments. I doubt you're not, you know, twiddling your thumbs for the rest of the day in this market. So we appreciate it. I'm going to cut the live feed right now. Whoops, wrong button. I don't want to put an emoji up. I want to stop live stream. Okay, we're not live on Facebook anymore. But no, you guys know the drill. If you want to participate in another one of these, we can shuffle the deck, get different realtors partners on. It's always great to get other humans interacting who are like-minded. I will send everybody the calendar invite for the fall events. We're pumped up for it. And so just pray that there's no crazy COVID spike. But I'll let you get back to your day. Thanks for the engagement, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank
Nice
you.
meeting
Thank you, everybody.
everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Hope to see you at
Have a
the
good day,
event in
everyone.
October.
Yep. I'll send it right now.